Today we're talking about I Am the Weapon by Flotsam and Jetsam, which was released on September 13th, 2024 through AFM Records. This is a very long-running thrash band. I think sometimes we forget about them because back in the day, they were just as popular as the other bands, such as the Big Four and the other ones at that time, such as Testament, Death Angel, and Overkill, and all those other ones. So today we're going to answer the question, can they still thrash? So I remember the first time I heard this band, and if you watched my videos before, you know what I'm going to say, and that is I saw their video on MTV's Headbangers Ball, which I watched every Saturday night when I was a teenager back in the late 80s. The first video I watched from Flotsam and Jetsam was a cover of Elton John's Saturday Nights Are Right for Fighting, and I was thinking it's pretty cool because I grew up on classic rock, and I think that was the first time I heard a metal cover of a classic rock song. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't need to go into a big history. You know this band is famous for having Jason Newsted in the band before he joined Metallica in the late 80s, and then they released a bunch of albums. I don't need to get into it. This is not a history-related video, but if I ever do one of those, I will get more into the history. As for this album, not much to say in terms of anything new happening because it's basically their first album with the same lineup since their album from 2001 called My God. And this album comes 3 years after the previous one called Blood in the Water, which was released on June 4th, 2021. I also reviewed that on my channel back in 2021, so I will link that to the end screen of this video. I guess one thing that makes this band stand out is that they play thrash metal, but they also have clean vocals, so that gives them a very unique sound. I've even heard metalheads say they're not a thrash band, they're speed metal, but we're not here to nitpick about genres. Let's just get into the songs. The album has 11 songs. It's about 47 minutes long. The first 4 songs were singles that were released prior to the release of this album. So with that being said, let's get into it. The opening track is called A New Kind of Hero. At first, you hear a few seconds of an acoustic guitar intro, but then it's very brief. Then it goes into this very fast-paced drum beat. But then after that, the intro, they play the guitar riff, and I think that is the main star of the song because it's a very classic sounding thrash metal guitar riff. As for the vocals, I said before, they have clean vocals. I don't know if you want to call them that. The vocals are provided by Eric Knudsen, and to me he sounds something along the lines of either John Bush or Joey Belladonna. That should give you an idea of what they sound like. But so far for an opening track, I thought it was pretty good. It's a thrasher with lots of energy and aggression, so let's move on. The next song is called Primal. This one is another thrasher. The guitar riffs have more of that chunky sound, but still sounds very old school, and the lyrics are about anger in general. The concept of primal is how people have this primal instinct like an animal, whether you're threatened. And the lyrics also talk about other stuff like that. It's a pretty cool song. They're definitely maintaining their sound. After this, the title track, they turned up the speed and aggression on this one because very intense. The guitar riffs are very fast. The drumming is very powerful. You can hear lots of drum fills. There's lots of that double bass drumming. But at the same time, the song has a melodic component. I felt the chorus was pretty memorable, so I thought it was another good song. The next song is called Burn My Bridges. This one was interesting because they're moving into a heavy metal or power metal direction. It still had the guitar riffs, but also had a very big chorus and lots of melody. After this is a song called The Head of the Snake. This one was a little faster, a little bit more aggressive, a little heavier, but it still had that melodic component, which I liked, and the song concept was cool. The metaphor of cutting off the head of a snake to stop something big and powerful. This is the first non-single of all the songs, and everything after this will be the non-singles. Then they have a song called Beneath the Shadows, and I like the mixing on this one because they toggle the left and right channels during the guitar riff. I was listening to this with headphones. I thought that was pretty cool. It's another good song. It's angry. The lyrics are about living your life the way you want to, and it's another good one. After this is a song called The Gates of Hell. Another one that's very dark, heavy, fast, but at the same time, it's melodic. And of course, I'm listening to the lyrics, and it seems like they're coming from a Christian perspective, talking about the gates of hell closing on your soul after you die. It was an interesting concept, so another good song. Then there's a song, Cold Steel Lights. This one had something unique about it. Of course, towards the end, they go into this breakdown with clean guitars, and they play this classical music interlude. But the problem was, it was very brief. I think it was less than 30 seconds in the song. I wanted like that section to be a little longer. I also wanted more of that on the other songs, but that's just my personal preference. I like when thrash metal bands have these peaks and valleys, and sometimes I wish the drummer would just take a break and let the guitarist do a softer section, but that's just me. So moving on. Then we have Kings of the Underworld. This is some more thrash. Might be a little slower than some of the other songs, but has a big, memorable chorus. The penultimate song is called Running Through the Fire, and this one's pretty cool. It's a nice thrash metal. You can hear the bass guitar in the song, so that was a plus. This one also had one of those clean guitar interludes that I was talking about before. The last song was called Black Wings. This one was a little slower, but it still moved at a typical pace for a thrash. It had some cool riffs. There was a little bit of a Middle Eastern feel. The second part of the song was a little cheesy when they did that spoken part, but otherwise a good way to end the album. So in conclusion, I thought it was a strong album. There is some solid musicianship on this album. There are lots of guitar solos. You have lots of thrash metal style guitar riffs, most of which bring back the sound of the early to mid 80s, and the songs are very catchy. They all have a nice groove and melody to them. The songs are also very well done. They stand out amongst other bands. Like I said, they kind of remind me of John Bush, but that's not a bad thing. I like the drumming on the album. A lot of fast-paced, powerful drums, lots of drum fills. That's something that stands out on the album. Overall, it's a very consistent album. It's the type of album to listen to front to back. I like the non-singles better than the first 4 songs, but that just might be because I listen to them with a fresh ear. I only mentioned my criticism about wanting more of those clean breakdowns, but that doesn't take away from the album. So anyway, it's a good album. My score is an 8 out of 10. It's just solid thrash metal or speed metal, whatever you want to call it. And to answer the question that I posed at the beginning of the video, yes, they can still thrash. So check out my review of their 2021 album, Blood in the Water. I'll stick that right here. You can watch that next to hear my thoughts on that album. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings and more, and classic album reviews. I'll see you in the next one.